Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Audible.com, the internet's leading provider of audiobooks, with more than 100,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature. Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to Stitcher.com/GFQ. And by Ting, mobile that makes sense. Go to gfq.ting.com and get a $25 credit when signing up.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. This is the show where you get all the week's tech. I'm Andrew Zarian. I'm joined by John, also known as Suncast on the internet and the trolling world. How you doing, John?
Hey, what's up?
You are somewhat of a troll, right?
No comment.
You know, I was observing your Twitter feed the other day, and I don't think you don't really write things that you like on Twitter. It's mostly like a complaint board for you.
Yeah, but you know what? Twitter is one of those great tools for getting support from companies that's otherwise hard to get support from.
Yeah, and listen, no problem with that.
I mean, I used it this week, and I actually used it twice, and I had two very good responses from companies where I needed some help from them, and I wasn't getting it elsewhere.
I'm glad it works for you. I'm very happy for you. This week joining us again, Michael Manna. You were here 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, Michael. I'm not too sure.
You were canceled. You know what? I'm just going to get this out of the way because you may cut to me during the show, so I'm just going to get this out of the way. This is what I'm drinking of.
A kitty cat mug.
No, Hello Kitty.
Oh, Hello Kitty mug.
Hello Kitty. There. It's the biggest tea mug I could find. So.
You know what? I should have had my cat mug, and we could have discussed cats, and we could have done a show called This Week in Cats.
Twitch. We'd probably get 1 million downloads.
Yeah. Listen, I like cats as much as you do, Michael.
You know, cute cats rolling around and dogs pissing on lawns equals millions of dollars on YouTube. It's been proven.
It has been proven. It has been proven. Michael is the host of the show, T4 Show, T4Show.com. You guys record generally on Saturdays, but your schedule's changing a little bit. Due to you traveling and things like that. So if you want more information about T4 Show when it's on, you could, of course, follow Michael on Twitter at Michael Manno, or your co-host, Culmination on Twitter. Colm is your co-host, or they could go to your website.
I suggest they just keep it on T4Show.com/live, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you just never know when we could do a show, because we never know when we're going to show anymore.
It could be any time. You guys were on the Super Bowl. You guys did a Super Bowl game.
Yeah, you know what, those games, I mean, it was a pretty exciting game, and the real game was actually just as exciting as our Super Bowl special. It was good.
I was watching it. I actually went out and I came back, and I guess John and Colm decided, you guys made the executive decision to put it on the air, because I had no idea what was going on, and I actually thought I got hacked.
I have nothing to do with that. Colm and you are the ones in direct contact. One thing I want to note, though, if you go watch that game, the game actually really coincides with the outtakes of our live reads that your wife likes so much.
She loves it.
A lot of the same curse words when I get the live read wrong on our opening. So tune in for that, if nothing else.
Oh, no, she absolutely loves it. For people who don't know what we're talking about, it's a teaser. Go watch T4Show.com and watch it live. I actually like the show live.
You won't be disappointed.
You won't be disappointed at all. And you guys also broadcast, we syndicate the show on the GFQ network. If you're a GFQ fan, you'll find it here too. So I want to get into a couple stories. There was some announcements over the week and a half that we were off the air. We took off last week. There was a storm hitting New York, and my internet was acting up. It was a mess. So we decided, you know what? We're not going to risk it. We'll just take the week off.
That was a week ago?
That was a week ago. That was Friday.
Wow.
And you know what? It's 52 degrees right now here in New York.
Is all the snow gone now?
Everything is gone. It's all gone.
Wow.
But Friday, it coincidentally was the Surface Pro launch here in New York. There was a big event. Mary Jo Foley and Paul Thurrott were doing this big get-together, and they were going to go to the store and buy their Surface Pros. And the event was canceled because, obviously, the Northeast got hit with a humongous storm. But there was some controversy with this because the Surface Pro 128 gig sold out immediately on the online store, while the 64 gig was still listed and available. A lot of the stores still had them available. So did it sell? Did it not sell? Are people excited for this? Are they not? I've heard mixed reviews up and down, left and right. Even Paul Thurrott has said even though he likes some aspects of it, there are some things that they totally dropped the ball on with this device. I am a Mac user and a Windows user. John is somewhat of a Mac user at this point, and I'll get into that in a couple weeks, why he's a Mac user. I know Michael is a Mac user and a Windows user to some extent. So I want to get your opinions on this. Is this an appealing device? Let's talk about the 64 gig and the 128 gig, because this is technically a full-blown computer. It's a full-fledged PC. And
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, that's what they're selling it as. So, John, tell me, is this appealing to you? Is this an appealing Windows 8 device for you?
Well, that's the thing is, I can't really answer that because I haven't tried it yet. So, my opinion of Windows 8 is not very high, to say the least. But I do see Windows 8 more viable as a tablet in a tablet form, but without having trying the Surface Pro or the Surface RT yet, I really can't form much of a judgment on it. As far as the sales number, this is a very odd thing because from the sounds of it, from everything I've heard, there's been a lot of forum posts about people saying that a lot of stores maybe only had one device that was 128 gigabytes and maybe 3 others that were 64 gigabytes. So even though that Microsoft says that it's sold out in all the stores, it sounds like they had very limited quantities.
That could have been the case. Michael, are you interested in this device at all?
I mean, the only two things that I think Microsoft has really done a great job with, and there's still some things missing, and you guys touched on what the tech, the Xbox experience and also the Windows Phone 8 experience. I don't feel like what they're doing with Windows 8 right now. We talked about it with RT, I think, on that show 3 shows ago or 3 weeks ago, where we were just talking, well, okay, they released the RT. Why are we going to buy this one? The Pro's coming out. And now that the Pro's coming out with things missing, now everybody's looking forward to version 2 of both. And
and that's the big problem. I think the issue with this device is, in a way, this was Microsoft's way of communicating what they want to the OEMs more than anything else. I don't think they expected to sell millions of these off the bat like it's an iPad. I think this specific device was there to say, hey, listen, guys, listen, Asus, listen, Dell. This is the device that we want out on the market.
But that's never going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
Everybody, see, this is the thing. Everybody wants to have their own way of doing things. They want to be the top dog. They want everything their way.
Yeah, I agree with you, but don't you think this is a good, I guess, blueprint for the OEMs as far as what a device should look like?
It's an expensive blueprint.
It's a very expensive blueprint.
For them to bring a product to market.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about, too, is now you're using a consumer, once again, Microsoft is a guinea pig. They did it with the Nokia Lumia 900. They said it was going to get the Windows Phone 8 update. It didn't turn out to do that. This RT and this Pro, what kind of shelf life are these devices going to have? And you can't upgrade or do anything to them. They're even more glued together than the Retina display MacBook Pro made by Apple. So there's a lot of...
iFixit had a teardown, and they rated it at like a 1 out of 10.
Yeah, I saw that too. But what they're doing, they're going to make us guinea pigs at what is it, around $849 or so for the 128 gig version. The 64 gig version's virtually unusable with the amount of space after the operating system takes up, half of it, Andrew?
Yeah, so, it's very limited. And I think the issue with the Windows RT version of this, it was a limited hard drive space, but I feel that because you were running only those Metro apps, it didn't really matter. But when you're trying to install, Windows-based applications, and these things aren't, the applications are not small for this device. They're full-size applications. So you're going to run out of space really quickly if you're left with under, 60 gigs of hard drive space. You put a couple MP3s on there in one movie, and you're almost done.
You talk about blueprints. Why can't they just follow the blueprint that Apple, with these devices, has made? Why not? I mean, why not do it? Put your Microsoft and Metro interface on Windows Phone 8. that operating system, if it was full featured and had all the apps that this device had, I would have a Nokia or an HTC Windows Phone in my hand right now. I absolutely love Windows Phone 8 as a mobile operating system. But what they're doing on the other end, and John just said it too, it's just not impressive. And what they're doing is just so, it feels so beta to me, at least.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this is a first-gen device. I think this is first-gen software. This is their attempt to kind of migrate us into this, rather than, you know, splitting it off and saying, okay, you know what, this is a tablet OS, and this is what we're putting on our tablets, and this is what we're going to put on our, you know, Windows-based machines. I think this is Microsoft's plunge into the next era of computing. And I don't think the hardware is there to understand it, and I don't think the software is there to match the hardware. I think we're in this weird position where
part
probably
of it too is price. I mean, if you really think about it, to go for a device that you're just not even sure about, that's going to cost you, you know, around $1,000, and it's not even like an actual laptop. You might think twice about that.
By the way, Michael brought up Windows 8. I have a Lumia 920 here that was sent to me to review by AT&T. I really appreciate that they sent this over for me to play with. And I have to tell you, I've been using it for a week now. I really like the phone. I mean, I really, really like the phone. I like the interface. I like the graphical UI on this thing. But there are severe limitations, and that's applications. It doesn't have the apps at all.
That was my favorite phone to use this year outside of the iPhone. That really does trump iOS and Android and beauty, even with speed. And the way it integrates and the way everything worked together. When I was able to relearn the operating system, because it does have a learning curve, it just became such a pleasant experience until, like you said, trying to open up even embedded YouTube videos with Internet Explorer on the phone or doing other things through. And Internet Explorer seems to be the real big weak point, in my opinion, with the phone. A lot of sites like Athlete X Online and stuff that I try to access with my iPad, iPhone, even Android phone, I could not get to work or even load with the Internet Explorer. But as a hub-based device, if you want social, messaging, communication, and media, that phone is amazing. Now, photos. Now, did they update the software on the camera, Andrew?
You know, yeah, there was an update on this. As soon as I got it, I did the update, and my issue with the camera is that everything is green. Like the white balance, for me, it cannot determine the white balance properly, and everything has this green tint to it.
Well, they haven't fixed it yet.
Was that the problem? Was that the issue with it?
That and extremely blurry photos. Are the photos still blurry?
No, I mean, it's been pretty sharp, but I need to start taking more photos outside of my studio because my studio lighting also could throw things off. But it's a little green, and I sent John a couple of pictures, and John, you saw it too. You're like, yeah, it's a little green, the photos.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, listen, it's no
honestly,
iPhone 5.
Anything outside of, you know, outdoor lighting, you're going to have compromised images.
I mean, but the iPhone does a phenomenal job at it. There's nothing.
Oh, let me tell you, I was using the camera on my iPhone the other day for some business. And to take some photos of documents and stuff, some very important documents that I needed to have records of. Does an absolutely amazing job at that. I mean, it's to the point that I now know that whatever phone I get next needs to have a really good camera that matches the iPhone.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
I agree. This is what I was going to say about what you were saying, Andrew. When I started to bring up a question about the phone's camera, the Lumia 920, you kind of have a forgiving tone to it. But then once you talked about the iPhone, it was like, man, no compromises, best camera I've ever used. And that's where these companies have to step up and compete with Blueprint, like we said before, with this iPhone, with the iPad, with other things. Follow the blueprint, put better components in there, build your market share, build customer loyalty. Don't make us feel like guinea pigs. One note too, with the iPhone, talk about the camera, something I couldn't do with Windows Phone or Android. I use Genius Scan to scan my passport to send to these people I'm supposed to go work for in Germany next week. It scanned it. I was able to email it from there. I didn't even have to pick up, you know, a scanner off my desk or anything. That kind of power, that kind of convenience and convergence not be matched right now with this.
No, it can't. And guess what? It cannot be matched with I'm surprised Google puts out flagship phones every year. I have last year's flagship phone, which was the Galaxy Nexus. Comb got the Nexus 4. The cameras are awful on these things. I mean, I've been able to kind of figure out a way to take a good photo with this, with focusing it properly and all that stuff, but it's not at the quality. It's grainy. It doesn't perform well under low light, where the iPhone 5 dominates. And it's surprising to me that even on a flagship phone that Google's saying, this is the phone, again, this is the phone that you guys should be making to the OEMs, it's still awful. And
think about it. In every single camera comparison test that you see out there for any website that's reviewing cameras on smartphones, they always compare it to the iPhone.
Yeah, because it's the best. It's the best camera phone out there. I mean, nobody could have there's nobody in this world that could have a valid argument on another camera being good. Now, I'll tell you something. The Note 2 has a pretty decent camera. The Galaxy S3, pretty decent camera, still not an iPhone 5 camera.
Well, I'm going to back up and just say I'm talking about an iPhone 4S camera.
Oh, okay, yeah, even iPhone 4S, yeah.
This is Apple's last generation camera, and these phones, even the brand new Note 2 and the S3, which I will admit have pretty decent cameras, but once again, that forgiving tone. When I look at the iPhone 4S, it's like, wow, I could print out a book. I can print this out at Walgreens. I can do stuff with these photos and create some really vivid memories. The other one's like, oh God, I hope this thing takes a good picture.
Yeah, I know.
Do you agree?
No, you're absolutely right. I gave my wife's 4S. We gave it to my father. And he's taking pictures. He goes, I'm amazed. Like, this is his first smartphone, and he's like, I had no idea that these phones could take pictures. I'm like, no, it's not all the smartphones. It's this phone.
You add to that, I have an Olloclip where I can have wide angle, fisheye, macro pictures. It's not DSLR, but now I can do stuff with this 4S and get some really good pictures. We have a group shot of 10 people at that event like you're talking about. I attached the Olloclip on there. Now I can fit all 10 and not have to back all the way up to the other side of the room. Just having an iPhone or an iPad gives you a whole range of ways to pimp out your device as well. And that's what the cool quotient that the Nexus 4, that the Android phones, and even Windows Phone do not have anywhere close to the market share that Apple has.
No, they don't. They don't. To kind of go to another topic here, and this was a story that came out a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to get your opinions on this because I know John orders a lot from Amazon. I order thousands of dollars worth of stuff on Amazon, and I'm sure you too, Michael. You're constantly ordering on Amazon. Amazon is announcing coins, a virtual currency, coming to the Kindle Fire in May. So this is going to help Kindle Fire users buy applications, games, in-app items, and I'm sure they're going to take a lot of these apps and a lot of these coins and move them over to, maybe you could buy music on here and movies on here. We've seen this model that Apple had not Apple, but Microsoft had adopted, I should say, on the Xbox with like this weird conversion of their coin system. So like $20 got you like 1,400 coins or whatever it was. And they're dropping that apparently in the future. Do you see this working out? John, you have a Kindle Fire. Do you see this making any sense to take your money, cash it in for coins for their virtual currency?
These sort of things I don't think have ever really worked out. I mean, they'll do them for like a year and then they'll figure out, oh, yeah, this really doesn't work as well as we thought it was, so we're going to discontinue this program. And then what you do, you've got all this money invested in these coins and you can't use them anymore.
Do you know, have they stated ever since the story came out, have they stated what exactly they're doing with this?
No.
I know.
I mean, this is something that, they made the announcement, but then they really haven't provided any information about it whatsoever. We don't even know when this really starts. What all it's going to be entailing, what we can use it with, what the plans are, what the tiers are, or what you get for your money or anything like that. I mean, there's another business similar to this that seems to be kind of taking off called Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of you have heard that before. That seems to be doing fairly well, but I don't know. It's just hard to trust your money with these virtual currency systems.
How about you, Michael? What do you think of this? Do you think this is a thing that makes sense for Amazon to do, or do you think this is just a weird idea for them to kind of lock you in their ecosystem?
It sounds like somebody just got around to playing Farmville and discovered this coin system and said, "Oh, apply that to our." I don't get it either. I mean, they're going to try to make it sound like you should buy a Kindle Fire or a Kindle Fire HD to get these coins. I don't see any kind of attraction to doing that. Yeah. I think the Microsoft points that Xbox does is stupid. I think a lot of that converting from real money, it's too much work.
It is, and I'll tell you, what's his name does it too. Nintendo does it too with their virtual console stuff.
I mean, why can't you just let me pay for what it is that I want to buy with real money?
Yeah, because you know what happens a lot of times? They actually make out on this because when you go and buy, let's say, like $30 worth of, coins, I'm just calling it that. Let's say on Xbox credits, you're buying like $30 worth, and you really only needed like $28 worth for the game.
Yeah.
Now you're left with like $2 worth more of the coins that you really didn't need. So you're going to end up coming back and buying more for the next game that you need to get. You're always buying more.
Who does this are the stock photography website and stock photos type of places where you get any sort of stock footage. They do that, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, that's how they lock you into what they're doing.
I probably have. I think I have like $15 sitting in Vado right now that I don't know when I'm going to use, and quite frankly, I think it expires pretty soon. I have no way to get that money back.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. I want to kind of touch on this a little bit because I thought this was an interesting story. I'm big on the set-top boxes. I think that this is something that is totally outdated with the cable industry. I've been screaming about this for 4 years on how the set-top boxes need to kind of get with the times. And Intel has confirmed that a new internet-based television streaming product will be unveiled. They're working on something where it's a set-top box to provide TV access to people, and it's going to be internet-based. And they've been working with Netflix and all these services to kind of create this new way of watching television. Now, we've heard this same exact story come from Google, come from Apple, come from Microsoft, and everybody else that's out there. What do you guys think that Intel will be able to do that other people have not been able to do? Michael, are you big on Apple TV and like these set-top boxes in your living room?
Yeah, I have an Apple TV. I use the Xbox for Netflix in my living room. I use the Apple TV up in my bedroom, or I'll AirPlay stuff from AirVideo to the Apple TV. I think the real crutch in all this is the cable companies and not being able to do a la carte stuff. Now, these boxes that we have in our houses are how many years behind the times, and they have ports that you can't even use. The FireWire port, which isn't even really around anymore. The USB port, you can't attach any kind of NAS or anything. These internet streaming boxes, in my opinion, are going to be just as crippled, if not more crippled, and not being able to use by the consumer as the first-gen products that we're looking at now.
Yeah, John, you know some of the stories here. My system locked up here. Do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, what it sounds like is that they're creating this new company called Intel Media. It's a new division which includes some people outside the company, people from Apple, Netflix, Google, BBC, etc. And what their aim is to do is develop an internet television platform. It sounds kind of like what they're doing is like a Roku with actual sort of TV service. But what I find fascinating is that this is something that I believe other people have tried, Roku themselves and Google as well, where they've tried to have these agreements with cable companies. Like these companies are out there. They want to do these cool set-top boxes such as Roku and integrate actual live TV into them, but to create these devices, they have to have agreements with cable companies and TV networks in order to bring that sort of content onto the platform. And I think that's going to be the real challenge, like you guys said, is for them to be able to do something like that and work with these companies. And that's kind of like the stonewall that we've seen in the past with these products, where they want to do these things, but then they hit these roadblocks with these cable companies trying to negotiate all these deals, which just never really does work. So these devices end up ultimately falling apart and never getting the amount of content that they need to actually survive and make a difference.
Yeah, my issue with this is, people praise Roku, and I have a Roku box, and the interface is not that great, and it's sluggish. It's not responsive to what you're doing. The same goes for, every other set-top device that's out there. Google TV suffers from the same thing. I'm not too sure about Apple TV because I don't own one, so I can't comment on that. But even Boxy suffered from the same exact thing. And I think that's because the chipsets on these things are very low-powered and they're underperforming. And, there's a high demand on this. You're trying to stream 1080p video on this thing. And it baffles me. Like, I'll give you one example. You could watch Netflix on my Google TV. You could watch it in high def, and it works perfectly fine. But the second I open up Chrome on this thing and I try to watch any kind of streaming video, it totally freezes. It dies.
Yeah, but you're talking about something that the Roku and the Apple TV won't do, and that's multitask. That's something that Google, once again, has put out a beta product, much like Microsoft with the tablet we're talking about earlier. I'll give you an example. I have a friend who was looking for a cheap way to, because she wants to be able to work on her iPad, but she streams and connects it to the TV for Netflix. So obviously with the iPad, she can't do that. So what's the solution I gave her? $49. You get the Roku XD or the Roku 2 or whatever. It ranges from $49 all the way up to a little over $100. So for under $50, she can have her Netflix, Amazon Video, of course, the T4 show and guys from Queens Network. and she can have also Crackle, also has some pretty good content on there, and whatever else they have as far as downloadable third-party channels on the Roku. I mean, that's a very full-featured experience for under $50. So if you're going to sacrifice half a second to go from one part of the UI to the other without that multitasking that you have, I think that's a good compromise for what you're getting.
But see, this market currently reminds me of what the smartphone market was like in 2007. Everybody was doing something, and it wasn't great, but everybody had a feature that nobody, the other one didn't have. Apple came into this and totally dominated it for a couple of years until Google kind of got their act together. I think the set-top box, the living room right now, is the next big thing. And someone like Intel, which knows how to create chips, I'm not too sure how they're going to create the software because they're not a software company, but I kind of have faith that they're going to be able to do something. Someone like Intel or an updated version of Apple TV or even the next generation Xbox, somebody will have to take control of this, and they're going to be the number one, device in the living room. And once they get that, they're the central hub. Go ahead, John.
Only one person
with this.
Sorry, go, John.
Go ahead, John.
The problem with this is that all of these, it doesn't matter what company it is that's trying to create these set-top boxes, it always hinges on creating these deals with the TV networks and cable companies.
Yeah, and Google, surprisingly, and Michael, maybe you would know, why hasn't anybody else done this? With Google, it piggybacks on your cable system.
Well, Google, I think, was a little bit, I think there's some sort of, and I'm not a technical person that way, that there was probably some sort of way they did a workaround or a backdoor into that. I don't think, because I remember my first 24 hours with the Google TV. If you go to our YouTube channel, it was the most amazing device ever. I was going to CBS.com. I was going here to every network and be able to stream and watch full episodes of their TV shows for all the networks until 25 hours afterwards when they said, no way. So I'm assuming that the networks, that Google did something very clever and bypassed all that and did that, or assumed there was going to be deals. Now, I'm going to go back to the Intel thing. The only way the Intel thing is going to work, in my opinion, is the way it would really work if Steve Jobs came back from the dead and was able to negotiate the deal with the cable companies. But the second most popular thing would be embrace Apple for the UI, for the software, and brand it as Apple, even though Intel will make the chips and the insides. Apple makes the product, Apple sells the product, and Apple makes the deal with the networks and the cable companies. I believe that's the only way we're going to get our living room to be fully converged like that.
Well, that's interesting. But does Apple need Intel at this point? Because they're making their own chips.
They might need the patents Intel created with the box if they patented it. That's all they would need, or they'll just buy Intel.
I'm just very surprised that we've seen the push for the living room, and nobody has really done it right. I mean, we've seen a lot of products come out, and
there's a lot of products out there that are just really awful.
I mean,
and a lot of times the software that the TV manufacturers include to make their TVs smart are the worst out there.
I mean, I'm really surprised to kind of stay on this TV thing. Eric Schmidt 2 years ago, I think at CES, came out and said 90% or 70% of every TV that's going to be coming out this year will have Google TV on it. And I said to myself, wow, you know what? They are going to dominate the living room. And that didn't happen. We didn't see the 70%, and we have not seen Google TV put a significant upgrade out since its launch. It's still running Honeycomb on this thing.
Wow.
And they're still selling new devices. There's new set-top boxes out there. There's no reason why you're selling a 2-year-old outdated software on these new devices. And this is, the beta mentality. Let's use the consumers as guinea pigs. Let's put a product out there. Let's say that this is the latest and the greatest. And really, it has major shortcomings. The only reason why I use Google TV is because it's integrated with my cable box, so I don't have to go from input 1 to input 2. It's all one thing. And I know it's such a tiny little inconvenience, but that really goes far. Because can you imagine how many... And let's not talk about me, you, or John. Let's talk about, the soccer mom or grandma that wants to watch Netflix. And you have to explain to her, like, okay, you buy the Apple TV, you hook it up. Now you got to go to input 2 for the Apple TV, and you got to run, and it's a totally different interface. And then you got to go back to input 1. I think there's a major disconnect here. And I think Google's the only one that's been able to do this right now for who knows what reason. But, in the end, the software's crap, so why does it matter? I hope Intel could do something. I really do. But they need the software. They need the back end for this thing.
I think Google just threw everything against the wall they could at that time when they came out with Google TV. Eric Schmidt said what he said, knowing he was going to step down. He said, I don't have to even see this through. I really do. Google and Microsoft seem to be companies that throw everything against the wall to see what sticks. But Google's had a lot more success than failure, and they're sort of a more, should I say, fun company in a way, or at least they have that perception of, this is cool because we're trying stuff out with our Google Labs and all this other stuff, and our people can try stuff out too. But Microsoft seems a lot more still like that fascist dictatorship that we were from way back in the 80s and 90s. So Google's a little more forgiving from its customers because they're willing to buy into it. I'm not anymore, and I don't think. I think you're about to throw yours out.
I'm about to throw my entire TV out the window at this point. I've come to that. Hey, I don't know, John. Are you a Star Wars fan?
Not really.
No. See, I don't know, Michael. I know you're a Star Wars fan, right?
More Star Trek.
Okay, more Star Trek. Okay.
If Colm's in the chat room, I hate Star Trek. Star Wars is so stupid.
Oh, you hate it? You know what? Me too.
I'm just gonna say it to him.
I don't see the big deal behind Star Wars. I know it was a big thing back in the 70s when it first came out, but I mean, it never really took. Like Michael said, I'm more of a fan of Star Trek. I think it is partly generational.
I don't know. I know a lot of people my age, and I've been accused of not being geeky enough because I don't like Star Wars. I like Star Trek. I don't like Star Wars. My father loves Star Wars. I mean, he's one of these people that knows everything about it. News came out. I thought, Michael, you like Star Wars, so I brought this up. I know Colm loves Star Wars.
I like the drama of Star Wars. It is really, for sci-fi fans, it is the first movie of the classic tale of good versus evil, action, drama, romance, all that. Even though it was incest, it was
incest. It was. Yeah. I mean, am I wrong because I always liked Darth Vader? Like, I liked him as a kid. No. I thought he was cool. Like, I thought his character was cool. Well, Harrison Ford, rumors are that he will be returning as Han Solo in the next Star Wars movie. Disney got the rights for Star Wars about 2 months ago, and they announced that they're going to be doing, multiple Star Wars movies. And another one is that Disney wants to do a Han Solo standalone movie. And now I want to talk about the franchise. Michael, do you think this is going to hurt the franchise? I know the last 3 movies that they put out, the last one was good, but the first 2 not so much. Is this going to hurt the franchise any more than it's been, hurt over the last couple of years with the bad movies?
I don't know. I don't know. We all said that after Jack Nicholson's performance in the Joker in the Batman movie, that Heath Ledger was a horrible choice. He turned out to overshadow where everybody wants to forget about those Batmans from those Tim Burton ones and the Joel Schumacher ones. I think everybody wants to forget those anyway, no matter what. But now the Batman trilogy is like the standard bearer, and that was basically that was a prequel and a remake from what that was. What they're having with Disney did a great job with Marvel with the Avengers, so I can't see them doing a bad job with Star Wars. I mean, if they want to do a Han Solo standalone movie, they better do it quick before he dies. I mean, the guy's like 70 years old.
Yeah, what are they going to do with him? Yeah.
Plus, he's one of the greatest actors in the world. This is my opinion, because he's so charismatic and has such personality in every role. Indiana Jones, Han Solo in Star Wars. But when he does his interviews as Harrison Ford, he was one of the most boring people I've ever seen in my life. He's awful.
Well, it's like a Derek Jeter interview. He's awful.
Yeah.
Derek Jeter's awful. And you know who else? Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro is a really bad interview. Really bad.
They act like they don't even care about what they're like, God, I have to do this. And maybe they do. Maybe it's like they'd rather be playing video games like we would. But, I doubt that. But, I mean, at the other end, they look like they're so like, man, it's such a pain in the ass to make $10 million a year. I hate it. It's awful.
Yeah, we all hate making money. And talking about making money, I want to take a little break and talk about a advertiser for the show.
Get a bad email now.
I'm going to get a bad email. Ting. Now, what is Ting, you say? Well, Ting is mobile done right. No BS, no upsell, none of that stuff. Ting is by the folks that were behind Hover, and you know how much we liked Hover here. And the thing about Ting is, and I'm going to pull up their website here to kind of explain to you guys why I like Ting so much. Here it is. The thing about Ting is that you could create your own plan. You're not locked into a contract. There's no contracts, none of that. So I was talking to somebody, and I brought up the fact that I've always wanted to just have just the data on the phone. I don't want to sign up for the minutes. I don't care for the text messages. I just want 4G on my phone. And that would actually entice me to buy more phones because I could get just the 4G. I don't want the minutes. With Ting, you could do that. It's totally customizable. So you could add 0 minutes, you could add 0 text, and let's say you could add, 2 gigs of bandwidth data for your phone. And any other phone that you add, it's just $6 more. So $49, you're getting everything there. There's no hidden costs. Also, hotspots are included. All those extras are included. Hotspots and tethering. There's no fees for that. And they're piggybacking on Sprint, and it's a reliable service. So if you want to bring your phone over, that's the great part. There's no contracts with it. Now, if you want to buy a phone, they have a ton of phones on there, including Android phones. And if you want to get a phone for mom and dad, and you don't want to add any minutes, any mobile data or text messaging, you could do that too. They have a couple, standard dummy phones, as people call them, that you could buy from them. You're not wasting time with them. It's totally flexible, and you pay for what you want, and that's Ting. If you go to gfq.ting.com, you get a $25 credit upon purchase of a phone or a plan, and let them know that we sent you because I like them a lot. Ting, mobile done right. And I want to thank them for supporting
I got some breaking
the
news
show.
for you here.
Oh, breaking news. What is it?
Vizio CoStar updated brings new Google TV UI and native Amazon and Vudu.
I know that.
There you go. There's your update.
I did get an update, and I got it last night. Do you know how long it took me to get the update?
How long?
It took me about an hour 15 to download that update.
Wow.
And I sat there staring at a black screen for an hour 15 because the thing wouldn't let me do anything while it was updating. So that didn't work for me either, John. Good try. John, you want to pick one more story, and then we'll do our picks?
You know what I really want to talk about is this meteor that hit Russia today, because that's a fascinating story and very ironic that a meteor hit Russia today, of all days, when this asteroid is flying past us. So that's a little weird. I don't know if any of you guys saw the video out there, but there's like multiple videos out there of this meteor hitting Russia, and it's just absolutely crazy. It's seriously something that you would expect to see straight from the movies. Like, a lot of times explosions and stuff don't really measure up to the cinematic effects that you see in movies. It's always a lot less cinematic in person in real life. But man, when this thing hit, it was crazy.
I'm trying to find that video you sent me because
there's all the links for the videos are in there in the notes. So if you want to click one of those,
I'll click on one of those. But it unbelievable. I mean, just some of the shots that people got, and this is great. The reason why they have cameras in Russia is because there's a big insurance problem there, where people jump in front of cars to get hit by them. and it's a thing in Russia, and that's why there's so many car cams on these things. And people are asking, like, why does everybody in Russia have a camera in their car? Because people are jumping in front of cars to get insurance money. So it's a big problem here. So I'm just gonna pull up.
Yeah,
this
they
video.
said that it was traveling about 33,000 miles per hour and the size of a bus.
Wow, look at this.
Unfortunately, however, though, it does sound like there's about 1,000 people that have been injured from mostly flying glass.
Yeah, I mean, it coincided. Thank goodness it fell in a place that's not too populated.
Yeah, if you listen to the sonic boom or the explosion, it's just seriously, it's epic.
I mean,
and
could you imagine
look at like the stuff that gets blown in from the inside shots? It's absolutely crazy looking.
I mean, could you imagine if something like this happened in New York?
No, I mean there'd be so many people dead.
I mean,
there's nowhere in New York you could do that.
You know what's interesting though? Could they have not predicted that this was happening? I've been wondering that. Like, couldn't they see like, okay, this asteroid this meteor is approaching and it's going to hit and it may hit this area?
I know it's kind of funny that they could predict that this asteroid is going to pass within 17,000 miles of us, but not that we're going to get struck by a meteor.
Isn't that weird, Michael?
I think they had everything that they needed pointed at the DA214 or D whatever it is. I forget the name.
Yeah.
The one that was flying in for a close call with us. I think they had every satellite, telescope, and everything pointed on that. Yeah. This came from the opposite direction. That's what they were saying. They were looking at that, and this came from the opposite direction. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, and this thing, by all size measurements, is nothing compared to what can hit us. This is just like a pebble.
Yeah. I mean, they said it was the size of a bus, and I believe the asteroid.
But a bus going 33,000 miles.
33,000 miles per hour. But asteroid 2012 DA14, which passed Earth 2 p.m. Eastern time, that thing is the size of half a football field. And if that thing had any kind of impact on this planet, it would have been awful. I mean, millions of people would have been dead.
You want to remember, this is stone. This was a rock meteorite. If this had iron in it or any kind of metal, it wouldn't have broke up over the skies of Russia. It would have impacted.
Yeah,
that's the difference too. We got real lucky that it wasn't nickel or iron or any kind of metal, because it would have hit the surface. Then you're talking about, I mean, this set off this little thing set off the power of what, 1 to 4 nuclear bombs.
Which one?
At least one. Like they said that it was like a magnitude 6.6 on the Richter scale.
Really?
It was the power of a nuclear bomb when it exploded.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, that's scary, huh? To think about that.
If you look at way back in history when Tesla, I'm getting a little, I might not be, I'm aging myself now by talking about Nikola Tesla, but you're talking about that one that hit in the 1920s. That was a meteor. They said it
in
never.
Russia.
The one that flattened the entire forest. They're saying it did impact in some way or got at least close enough to do all that damage. That one would have been pretty bad if that was today.
Yeah, the story is that it actually wasn't anything like that, and it was something that Tesla was working on.
I've heard those rumors too. That's a whole nother podcast, isn't it?
Listen, I love the conspiracy stuff, so I could go on for weeks with that. And your video went off as soon as you said that. You want to get into a little bit more conspiracy? It was 1908. Yeah, you're right, Swamp Rat. 1908, and Tesla was working here in Long Island. To kind of go into our conspiracy theory, he was working on a wireless electric system that was funded by J.P. Morgan, and it was shown to work. It did work, and J.P. Morgan realized, well, if we're giving this away, how am I going to make money? And he killed the project, and he demolished the tower that Tesla was working on. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there, but that's like a whole separate show, which I would love to do. John.
Yes.
It is time for pick of the week. I know you're a big fan of this, and I want you to go first with your pick, but I'm going to pull up your graphic first. So there we go. Pick of the week, John. This is the time where we pick a product that we like, or a thing that we like, or software, or anything.
All right, so my pick of the week is actually the electronic waste recycling that Staples has. I actually used them the other week. I had all these computer stuff. I had like 4 desktops and a old like 15-inch CRT monitor that I wanted to get rid of, but I didn't want to like necessarily just throw it on the curb. I wanted to actually try and recycle this stuff. Stable has a really good recycling program for your electronic waste. I don't know if you can pull up the picture that I sent you. I had like 4 computers that I carried back. It was crazy. I had this whole shopping cart full of computers, just driving it into Stable, so I looked really funny.
Now, I know one
really
of those
cool because they do this for free.
One of those is a Compaq Pisario, right?
One of them, yeah, I think so, or an HP or E-Machines or something like that.
This one right here.
No, that's an old Gateway 2000.
Oh my God.
From 1999, an Intel Pentium 2.
Wow.
That's the only machine out of there.
So what do? They just take your stuff?
Yeah, most of the stuff is free unless it has some sort of like toxic materials in it, such as mercury. But if you have like desktops, computers, laptops, any sort of tablets, battery backup devices, shredders, copiers, scanners, monitors, CRT monitors, that is, peripheral devices, including mice, keyboards, routers, and PC speakers, or like GPS devices, digital cameras, MP3 players, mobile phones, and external hard drives and small servers. They'll take all that for free, which is really awesome. All you do is you bring it up to the store. They'll make sure they'll like to give you a receipt just to make sure that you've got everything checked in and there's nothing hazardous about what you're bringing them. But it's all free, and you can just go to Staples to do that. You can actually go to their website, staples.com. I think they call it Easy Planet. Easy on the Planet Recycling is what they call it, if you want to find out more details about that.
Very cool. Very, very cool, John. Michael, what's your pick of the week? Do you have one?
I do have one. It's odd because it's not a new piece of hardware, but I feel like the more that I use this, and the more we talk about different systems, ecosystems, different devices, I think I'm just going to have to pick the iPhone 4S, not even the 5, but just for the lasting power of this particular device. And I'm a technology enthusiast. I'm a reviewer. I'm always trying to find the next best piece of hardware, the next best piece of software or user experience. And I just keep going back to this device, not even trying to upgrade to the 5. I'm talking about the 4S is enough for me, plenty powerful. I told you my use case today with scanning a passport, emailing it out. Little things like that just make this. Google Maps installed on this thing on iOS is actually a better experience than the Android counterpart. I just feel like that the way I'm going now with the trend in my technology journey or quest has gone back to the keep it simple, stupid kind of thing. And I see myself just saying, I don't want to complicate. I don't want to tweak. I don't want to do all this stuff and that. And I also don't want to buy a different phone every 2 to 4 to 6 months. And I find myself just keep going back to the iPhone 4S. So it's not an exciting pick, but it's something because I've tried to pick other things. I've tried to replace this phone. I've tried to come out of the iOS phone ecosystem. And I just find myself just saying, why bother even wasting my time? This does everything I need it to do. And this is just a part of my digital lifestyle day to day from beginning to end.
Very, very cool. Very cool. My pick actually is a phone as well, and I'm picking the Lumia 920.
I knew I should have picked the iPhone 5.
See, now you should have picked the iPhone 5. And I'm going to be doing a full review of this thing, and I've been using it for a week. So I'm going to hold off on the review until I start using it a little bit more, and I start seeing some of the other functions that I probably haven't used. But I have to tell you, this is a phenomenal phone. It feels great in your hand. I'm talking as far as hardware goes, this thing is great. And a couple of reasons why I actually like it. One, it's that if you're not into the whole app thing, everything is integrated. So you don't have a lot to pick from, which is a con. But I like the fact that in their messaging service, like in their, let me see here. So if you click on messaging, it actually pulls up your text messages, your Facebook messages, along with anything that's coming through MSN. Everything is there, so you don't have to open up all these different apps to get your messages. It's just listed under one thing. I like how the contacts list is set up. I like the side-to-side thing that they're doing. It's very unique to their feel. And I'm picking it because it is totally different than everything else that's on the market right now. What Android is doing and what iOS is doing is far more similar than what Windows Phone is doing with them. So I actually really, really like it. Also, they have a podcast directory, which Google doesn't, and I don't understand why. But it's a cool phone. I'm going to be doing a full-fledged review of this thing within the next week or two once I get used to it a little bit more. And it's the Nokia Lumia 920 on AT&T, and that's my pick of the week.
If I could just add one quick thing, Andrew.
Go ahead.
The one thing, and it wasn't even the camera, the other stuff I talked about with the apps, the one thing that made me return the Lumia 920, which, by the way, is the most affordable, no-commitment phone if you want to go to Straight Talk or even just not sign a contract at AT&T at $450 for the 32 gig. For a 32 gig device, that's a great price,
Yeah.
$450. But the GPS, Nokia Drive, and the lack of anything resembling Google Maps or TomTom, that's what hurt me because of how much I travel. Nokia Drive I found to be very, very beta, and I didn't want to spend $50 for Navigon and take the chance on that particular application not working for me. So that's probably the biggest flaw in the operating system that I saw in my use every day.
Yeah, I haven't used the Nokia Drive, which I want to this week. I'm going to try that and the GPS. So I'm going to see how it goes. You know, I may change my entire opinion of this thing, and I may say I hate it within the next week. But so far, so good. It's not bad at all.
Hey, listen, after even returning it, however long ago I did, I still love the device. I love Windows Phone 8. I actually, Paul, talking about the HTC 8X, that thing actually feels a million times better in your hand than the 920. But for some reason, the 920 appealed to me more. That 8X, though, is a hell of a little phone. I really like that.
I actually like the 8X a lot, and I've had some time with the 8X, and I have to tell you that I really like that phone.
Yeah, I
really
agree.
like it.
Paul made a good choice with that phone, especially the camera, because of all the issues with the 920's PureView camera. The 8X takes on par pictures, or a little bit better than the 920 today as it stands right now.
Yeah, very cool. Michael, thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate it too. Hopefully we'll nail down an exact time or whatever. But remember, just log into the when we stream and just keep it on there 24 hours a day. We'll eventually be streaming.
I think that's a great idea. John, any plugs? Your Twitter, of course, at Suncast on Twitter.
Yep, that's Sunkast. It's not spelled with a C like other people want to say, but you can read all my complaints there. As Andrew said, I complain a lot. So.
All your complaints, and of course on the GFQ network, where you maintain everything that we do, and I do nothing here anymore. I just show up. Michael Manna, T4Show.com is a website. T4Show is the show. You can follow Michael on Twitter at Michael Manna. And Michael actually he did a very interesting interview, a shoot interview for people who follow professional wrestling. That's available at RF Video. I believe that is the website, right, Michael? RF Video.
Yeah, they have that and also an in-the-ring seminar type thing, and they're selling a 2-pack either on DVD or Blu-ray. And if you come to any of the local shows, like I'll be in Sanford, Florida on March 9th, I'll be in Germany next week, I'll have some copies with me for sale that I can sign too. So pretty interesting. I mean, I've never done either one of those things in my life for video. So the interview is 4.5 hours long, and it covers from day one up until pretty much the day before I did the interview. So it's real in-depth. I think I tend to be boring sometimes, but some people have said it's very good.
I watched the whole thing. I actually bought it last week when it got released, and I have to tell you, I found it interesting, but I find these things interesting. I sat and watched the whole thing.
He finds me interesting.
I find you very interesting, Michael.
There's a few girls out there that don't find me very interesting.
Well, maybe they should watch this. So you could get the In the Ring series with Stevie Richards.
Whoever that is.
I don't know who that guy is. And you can get the shoot video available at rfvideo.com. And also, they have an on-demand service, too. So if you don't want to get the DVD, you can watch it on demand at rfvideonow.com.
That's the best feature. He did a great job. I don't want to wait for something to be shipped to me either. So I would recommend getting the on-demand and getting a few people around you and shipping in if you want to make it a little cheaper. That's what we do. We don't like to wait. We have Amazon Prime. We want instant gratification that day or the next day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? There's a couple of these other guys that do this stuff, but I think these guys really have the on-demand stuff working well. You're in New York in April, right?
Yeah, I'll be in Philadelphia and then New York, Staten Island, 2 days. So maybe we'll do an on-location thing.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there for that.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it'll be fun.
I know somebody can get you free tickets probably.
Yeah.
Check.
Hopefully. I know Colm wants to come up for that too, so.
No, I refuse. I disallow him from doing anything like that. He embarrasses me.
He's going to be wearing a T-shirt and everything. He's going to be all into it. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this week. Of course, you could catch us next week, 5 p.m. East, where we record live on Fridays. You can go to our website, gfknetwork.com, and catch any portion of the show that you missed. Of course, subscribe to us, guys. It is a huge help when you guys do. We're on iTunes. We're on Windows Phone. We're everywhere podcasts are available. And until next time, guys, take care and brush your hair. I'll see you next week.